Alright, it's almost that time of year again. The holidays are almost upon us. Luckily for hikers, there are plenty of things under $50 that we use out on the trail. If you're looking for something to give to your hiker for the holidays that they might be missing, this might be the video for you. In this video, we will go over 10 different items that hikers frequently use out on the trail that are under $50, and we're going to step right into it. Hey, thank you for stopping by. My trail name is Escape, and here at Escape in the Office, we go over gear, tips, and tricks, all things to make your hiker's next escape from their office more enjoyable. If you do like what you see, maybe recommend this channel to them so they can like and subscribe this channel. Let's step into the list. Now, real quick before we get into the list, everything is at the time of this recording and it is in US dollars. All right, moving into the first item, it is something that is frequently needed out on the trail. However, contrary to popular belief, it doesn't need to be big, and that is just a knife. A little pocket knife is just fine. Now, most commonly, hikers use them out on the trail to just cut packaging for food and maybe to whittle some wood. There really isn't a huge need for huge knives out there. It's not necessary. I've done hundreds of miles and never seen the need for anything larger than a knife like this. So this one is the Gerber Mini Paraframe, and it is the one with the serrated edge, and the serrated edge is actually helpful out there every now and then. But the nice thing I like about it is this handle. The handle with the gaps in it removes some of the weight, and this thing only weighs 1.4 ounces, which your hiker will definitely enjoy. It is very sharp and very useful out on the trail. So if you're wondering the cost of this knife, it is $17. Very useful to have out there on the trail for less than 20 bucks. Moving on to the second item, and that is the buff. The buff is a lightweight cloth item. It's basically just a tube of cloth. And these things are made of merino wool, which means they're very lightweight and moisture wicking. The great thing is they can be helpful to keep warm. Now, one huge benefit to the buff is it can be worn in a variety of ways. So you can wear it as a headband, so if you have long hair, it can help you keep the hair out of your face. It can be worn as a beanie, so that way you don't need to carry an extra beanie out there. It can be worn as a scarf, and probably the most beneficial, especially this year, way that it can be worn, and that is it can be worn as a mask, which is a great thing, especially this year with COVID-19. So the great thing here is that there's no need for an extra mask in the kit, so your hiker won't need to carry the extra weight of an extra mask. Now, probably early next year, there's probably still going to be the requirement to wear a mask, so the buff would actually be a really good option if they don't have that, because they can go into town. Most stores will probably accept this for them to go in and resupply. Then they can get back out on the trail and take it off, reconfigure it into a headband or a beanie, and then keep hiking. Great option, and the price right now is $30. So number 3 and number 4 kind of go hand in hand, and let's start with number 3, and that is the Sawyer Squeeze water filter. Now, the Sawyer Squeeze is an amazing filter that filters out most bacteria and protozoa that are harmful to us and cause diseases like Giardia on the trail. The great thing is that these things can last a lifetime with proper maintenance. So as long as your hiker takes care of the filter, they'll never need to replace it. And the best thing is, it is roughly about $30 to $35 depending on where you look. And like I said, 3 and 4 go together. With number 4, we have the CNOC Vecto water bladder. So out on the trail, they might carry a smart water bottle or something just to temporarily drink from, but your hiker will need somewhere to store water on their way to camp, and this is a great option. Now, these CNOC Vectos are rated to actually be full and have pressure on them to 220 pounds. So they are very strong and not prone to break. Now, there is a mechanism here to open it up, and they can fill it really fast. And the great thing is the other end of the CNOC Vecto screws into that Sawyer water filter, so you can get them their entire kit that they need. This is a very great option for them to have on the trail, and if you have both the Sawyer filter and this water bladder, then your hiker will have everything they need to be able to drink all the water they need while out on the trail. And this comes in at $20. So getting into number 5, I'm hoping you can tell what I'm talking about with this one, and that is the sunglasses. So you can find good cheap options for sunglasses on Amazon for around $15. However, if your hiker's like me and does require a prescription, Now, I am not in any way affiliated with these two websites, but you can get gift cards for iBuyDirect.com and ZennyOptical.com. The only thing you're gonna have to do is make sure that your hiker goes to their eye doctor and gets their prescription. They also need to get their P distance, which is their pupil distance, out from the bridge of their nose. And that helps them create the proper cut. Most frames on both of those websites can start at around $10 to $20, and then after they cut the lenses, they come in roughly about $50 to $70 depending on the style of the frame. So the great thing is they can go out there with some prescription glasses and not be blinded by the sun, because instead of regular prescription glasses, they're wearing shades. Now, some of them on those websites are kind of more stylish like these and not really sporty, but I've never had a problem hiking in these, so you know, they do their job, so it is a great thing to have sunglasses out on the trail. Okay, I just wanted to jump in here real quick before we move on to the next item. All right, now this list is supposed to be everything is under $50, and for the most part that is true. If your hiker does not require a prescription for sunglasses, then everything on this list is under $50. However, if your hiker requires a prescription set of sunglasses, then the cost is going to get a little bit closer to $50 or go to more, depending on if they want add-ons on their lenses such as scratch resistance or extra UV protection. So what you can do is you can either just get the $50 gift card and then give that to them, and they can order what they like and just pay up $10 to $30 to cover the entire cost of the frames, or you can pitch in with somebody else and cover the entire cost of the sunglasses for them. But I just wanted to clarify that, because yes, this is supposed to be under $50, but when it comes to prescription sunglasses, there are excellent cheap options out there. However, it is just based on personal preference on what they want on their lens that might raise the price just a little bit. Let's move on to the next thing. Moving on to number 6, I can almost bet that your hiker is going to be taking their phone with them out on the trail and will need to charge it. So the best way to do that is the Anker 10,000 milliamp battery bank. I use this on the AT and I was able to charge my phone 4 times before needing to recharge it. The downside is that it did need to be about 4 hours to charge it, which is kind of common for a 10,000 milliamp, but it's great. It's an amazing battery to have with you. The great thing is about this is that it only weighs about 6 ounces, so your hiker's not going to be too mad about how much it weighs, but depending on their phone and how well they use their battery on their cell phone, they might be able to last about a week before needing to recharge this thing. Like I said, I used it on the AT, and at this point it's almost been 4 years ago that I bought this battery and started using it, and I've beat the crap out of it and it is still kicking. So for $20, this is an amazing battery to buy. Moving on to number 7, I have earbuds on this list. Now normally I would have an example to show you, but I actually just broke mine. So I do need to buy some new ones, and I'll give you my recommendation, which I will be picking up here in a second. When your hiker's out on the trail, they're probably gonna wanna listen to a little bit of music. They're probably gonna wanna listen to a podcast. It's something that a lot of us do out on the trail, or even an audiobook. I will recommend getting wired. However, that is up to your hiker. If they prefer wireless, if they're okay with using that Anker battery to charge up the headphones a little bit, that's fine. But it should be in consideration that a wired set is used. However, the one thing you do want to watch out for and make sure that is part of the package is that they are water resistant and sweat resistant. So there are tons of great cheap options for earbuds out there. Say your hiker is planning on doing the Appalachian Trail next year. If you can find a good set that's cheap, then maybe consider buying 2 of them and just keep the other set as a backup. Just in case that first set dies out on them, you can just ship them the other set and they'll be happy and hiking again. So my recommendation is around $25, and that is the JBL Endurance. I've used that brand for years and they have always been fantastic. Really the only reason that I stopped using a specific pair was because of damage. Maybe one earbud fell out and it got yanked on, but it was never because they outright failed. It was always from damage. So I'm hoping you can tell what number 8 is, and that is the headlamp. It is always a necessity out on the trail. The great thing is that if your hiker needs to hike a little bit at night, they can do it hands-free and still be able to see. Now the one thing that I will recommend when you shop for headlamps is that you get the red light mode, which is this. And that is so we don't do what I just did to you and blind you with the bright light. When you're looking for the headlamp, make sure you get one that has an LED battery. The LED will help the batteries last a lot longer. so that way your hiker doesn't need to constantly refill on batteries every time they stop in town. Now, you can find some great options out there for around $40, which is what this one costs. This is the Black Diamond Spot. However, there are some cheaper options out there. However, one thing I will mention to you is I've watched others use cheap brands throughout the years, and every time they've had to replace them again and again and again because the bulb died. So I would recommend going with a more well-known and well-reviewed brand of headlamp for the purchase. Like I said, these are around $40, and you can't go wrong giving somebody a Black Diamond, a well-reputed brand of headlamp. Going into number 9, this is something that has been extremely useful for many hikers on the trail, and that is the Z Seat. The Thermarest Z Seat is basically just this little foam pad with a reflective surface, and it reflects heat. The great thing is it helps protect from the cold of the ground. Sitting on the cold ground sucks, especially if you're out there when it's cold and even the rocks are cold. You sit down on that cold rock and your butt gets kind of chilly out there. However, this protects from that. The great thing is it's nice and soft. It actually kind of feels a little bit better on the butt there to sit, but it's also very lightweight. And it has many other uses than just camping and backpacking. You know, if you're going to, say, a football game in the middle of winter, you can take this in with you and sit on it. They're not going to say much about a piece of foam that you sit on. Or if, say, you're at a high school football game in the beginning of November and it's starting to get a little chilly on those bleachers, this is a great option. Or even hunters, you know, the hunters out there can definitely take this out for a spin. The great thing is it's about 15 bucks, and it has probably been the most used item in my pack because, like I said, it's not only just backpacking and hiking. I use this for a lot of stuff. So for number 10, I have a question for you. After hiking 20 miles throughout the day, maybe up and down some mountains, if you had an air mat, would you really want to blow it up at night using your breath? After a long and tiring day? Probably not. So what we have here is a stuff sack with a valve on it that is designed to attach to the sleep mat and help blow up the sleep mat. Now, if you're looking here, I am showing you the old style one, and what it is you attach this end to the sleep mat and you take the other end, you ball it up, and then you just roll it down in, and it pushes the air into the sleep mat. Typically, I can blow up my sleep mat with about 3 to 4 pumps with that system. Now, unfortunately, the one I just showed you is no longer available on the market. That one is actually designed for the older style valves, which I'll show you here. However, Thermarest has redone the valves on their sleep mats, and they also designed bags specifically to connect to those valves. So if your hiker hasn't gotten their sleep system yet, say they still need their sleep mat, the sleep mat will come with a bag specifically for pumping up the air mat. But if your hiker has an older Thermarest like mine and has the old style valve, or they're going with a different brand, then a good stuff sack to go with is the REI Quick Flow Pump Sack. Now this comes in at about $25. It is a 20-liter stuff sack that is great for storing clothes. They can store their hygiene equipment, whatever they need in there. I would just recommend staying away from using it for the food bag, but they can use it for pretty much everything else. Now the great thing here is that this is designed to have a valve with a cover on it that actually closes. And the benefit to that is that it will seal against any water leakage. The one I have that's older, it won't. And I'm actually going to be ditching that one and getting the REI Quick Flow pump sack just to make sure that my clothes are a little bit more protected from water, because that was my clothes bag. All in all, going with a pump sack to fill up the air mat, whichever brand or style of valve it is, as long as you can find a compatible system that works with the sleeping mat and the pump sack, it is definitely worth the investment and will make the quality of life on the trail out there so much better for your hiker. I've used these items or variations of these items out on my backpacking trips. I highly recommend giving these to your hiker or backpacker just in case they are missing these items from their kit. If you found this video helpful, please do like, comment, maybe share this channel with your hikers so they can subscribe. I want to thank you for watching. I wish you a happy holidays. Escape the office and get outside.